Yo, what's up? I think I'm streaming. I'm gonna do some work today in some Cinema 4D. So feel free to ask questions, hang out with me. I'm just sort of working on this scene in Cinema 4D and playing with some blueprint stuff. So I'm gonna connect this to my Facebook group. Hang tight real quick. I run a Facebook group for sermon series design, and I'm just gonna put a notice in there that I'm streaming. 4D. Okay, I think that's working. We'll see how that goes. Feel free to hang out with me. For those that don't know me, my name is Alex. I do motion design mainly for sermon series and create packages and all that good stuff. So I like to tell good stories with little animations and things, mainly for churches. So tune in and hang out. So I'm working on a project for a church. This like blueprint scene, just kind of talking about building parts of your character and things we need to focus on as believers and things. So it's going to be sort of maybe do some sort of stop motion vibe, but I've basically built this one scene inside of Cinema 4D of this drafting table with some blueprint pieces. So I'm really kind of just getting started. I haven't done any animations yet, really. So I'm just gonna probably render out 6 or 7 different scenes, various close-ups of the table and camera movements, and then piece it all together in the final video and After Effects and Premiere and things. So so I'm just going to be using Redshift with some materials and some models and building this scene out. So it's probably going to be sort of boring, but I figured I would just throw the stream up there and let you guys ask questions if there's any questions, or just kind of watch the process. So if you get bored, I totally understand, but if you want to hang out and learn a little bit, feel free to, and also ask questions in the chat. So let's go ahead and get started. So so I'm just going to zoom out and show you the whole scene here. So this is my drafting table that I've downloaded from TurboSquid. I don't really model a whole lot of things unless it's something pretty basic. There's so many great resources out there, so I typically grab those, apply some textures to it, and build a model around that. So down in the bottom right is my Redshift render view. So hopefully maybe make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. So what's really cool about this is it uses your GPU and does a pretty fast real-time render of what that will look like. So let's let that update for a second. There we go. Okay. So as I move the camera around and my different view, don't mean to do that. Oh boy. So as I move the camera around, you can see this screen down here updating. And it looks a little blurry. That's because I have some depth of field on my camera to give a little more realistic look, but I can change that pretty easily. And we'll get to that in a minute. So really for this scene, I'm going to be, this is sort of the opening scene of the little animation, and I want to, darn it, I keep moving that, just sort of establish what the scene's going to look like. So I'm probably going to live somewhere over here is my guess, sort of maybe a close-up angle of the desk. Maybe the camera will be sort of moving slowly to the right. I don't want to do anything super fast. Probably going to add some sort of stop motion type of posterized time on this in After Effects to give it a little bit more of a stop motion vibe. I need to fix my paper here. There we go. So I try to look at the scene as a whole and see what it's missing and what it needs. So for instance, these little clips were at the top of the page, and I wanted to drag those down just to give it a little bit more of a realistic working vibe. So you can see those little guys right down there. So I can click on these little models. Let's see here. Should be selecting those. Oh, I don't see that. Okay. But they are in here. This is my layer panel where all the little pieces are. So if I click that, I can move this clip around. You can see it right there. So I'm going to drag that and put it back down here, just trying to make it look as sort of realistic and practical as I can. So again, they're kind of out of focus, but the more I sit here, the more this window will update and make it look kind of nice. So I have my camera right here. So if I turn this off, you can see, if I zoom way out, you can see the camera right there. You also see in this image, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. This is just an HDR image. So it's basically like if this is my tape, my drafting table, then inside of a globe, basically, and that globe is, it's almost like a wallpaper has been applied to the inside of that globe, and it's lighting the entire scene. So that can change based on what HDR image I use. But this was sort of a modern inside look of an office with some nice daylight coming in. That's kind of what I pictured in my head, so we went with it, and it creates nice lighting to it. So I'm going to live in this little camera, so I'm going to go back into the camera so I can see through it. And there we go. Then I can change my focal length. So I'm going to move this up. Here are all my camera settings. I can click on this focus distance, this little eyedropper, and I can change my focus distance based on this little eyedropper. So if I want to really focus on these little clips down here, I can click that eyedropper. Let's click it. There we go. And then if I click that, this little guy right there will come into complete focus. Okay. So then I'm going to sort of from here, sort of build out the scene. So it feels a little bit bland. I really don't want to see a ton of the background. So I need to fill this in with something. I'm probably going to do like a group of these blueprints. So let's go and click on those and find those in our panel here. It's this guy right here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it out. I'm kind of copying it, moving it out. So now I have this all by itself. And I'm going to turn this viewer off for now so I don't drive my machine crazy. I don't really need to look at what this looks like yet. I want to create a lot of these. So what I'm going to do is throw it into a cloner object. Click that, character, cloner right here under MoGraph cloner. And I'm going to drop my I probably should just rename this blueprint. And I'm going to drag this up to the cloner object, drop that in, and you can see right away it makes like a bunch of them right there. It's a little too uniform, so I can go and add an effector to it, which would be a random effector. Let's see, where's the random effector? There we go. So if I click that, you can see it sort of randomizes those a little bit. So if I turn this down, you can see them sort of randomizing. But then I can go in and randomize every little thing about it. So this is the position, and I want to do the rotation. And if I just adjust that a little bit, you can see them rotating a little bit there. And then it'll rotate on different axes. So maybe something like that. I don't want them to intersect, which makes it kind of difficult, but that's not too bad. I probably could go in and change the, let's take this back out. I could go in and maybe change the center point, or really like the anchor point there. So let's see if I click this button there, I should be able to drag this down here. Maybe is it this way? Let's try that out. Let's put that back in the cloner and see what happens. So now let's try, if I cloner, I'll go to my random effector. It's not a huge difference, but it does seem like it's rotating from the very bottom part of it. So we'll do some randomizing there. This is going to be pretty out of focus, so it's probably not that big of a deal. And I can also make several of these. So let's go to the cloner again, and we'll maybe add a bunch of them, like a whole bushel of them. All right, so that's probably good. That should work for what I need. So I can close this down, and let's zoom out. And so I'm thinking maybe it can exist over in the corner. So I'm gonna move it over here. So let's see. Got a question about the lighting setup. I'll show you that in just 1 second. So I don't think I'm going to see this paper, so it should be fine. Let me check this real quick, and I'll talk about the lighting setup. All right, so let's move this back over here. So those probably need to be pretty large and long. Just going to blueprint. Let's see if I can stretch these out a little bit. So I'm thinking there's probably some sort of bin over here that's holding all of these. And now if I render this, we'll see what that kind of looks like. Hopefully it's sort of filling in some of this space. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'd probably move them like over here. And then maybe space those out a little bit more. Probably need to add some sort of bin that they're sitting in, but overall, not too bad. Maybe give them a little more randomization there. All right, we'll probably come back to that. As far as the lighting setup goes, yeah, it's just a HDRI inside of this dome light. So I do a redshift dome light, and then I can tell it what setup I want. This is a Grayscale Gorilla HDR image. So Grayscale's got some fantastic assets. Where is that window? Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Plus library. So they HDRIs, and you can kind of pick the ones you like. So I tried to find something with a modern office and drug that in there. But if I were to do something like, let's do maybe this afternoon cafe. So I'm gonna drag this in here. It'll completely change my lighting look. So that's how HDRs work, and they're fantastic, and they make life a lot easier than dragging in all a bunch of light objects. I have a little light in this lamp, just trying to create some glow, and it has a little bit of a volume to it. So I added a redshift environment with some volume. So if I were to crank that up, it would get really hazy. But it's just coming from that light a little bit. I also have on the redshift camera, I have some flare added in there. So if I turn that off, it kills that flare there. That flare gives it a kind of a nice realistic look. So I don't really use those a lot, but I kind of like the look, so I'm going to go with it. So let's go to my camera, and let's change this focus back. Okay, so this scene is looking pretty good. I don't want to go crazy with it for now. So let's do a little camera animation, and I'm probably gonna tempted maybe to change my focal length to like a 50, and let's back this camera up a little bit. I want to see the light, and I want to see this table. I want to see the light just a little bit. Just maybe something like, I don't know, maybe I need to stay on that 35. All right, so let's go with this. So I'm just going to do like a small move, kind of like that. So in order to set my animation, click on my camera. I'm at frame number 0, and I'm going to click this little button for my, this should set my position, scale, and rotation on my camera. So we'll go with that and we'll move ahead. I need it to be probably like 6 seconds just for safety. So I'm going to type in 6 there, go all the way to the end, and I'm going to move my camera maybe this way, maybe come in just a touch, and maybe even rotate up a little bit. And I'm using the keyboard shortcut 1 and then also the Option key to sort of move that into place. So let's try something like that. So I'm going to hit my keyframe button, go back to start. I'm going to turn this off because it's kind of slowing me down. So this should give me a realistic move. Yep, that's pretty much what I need. I'm going to highlight my keyframes and make my interpolation linear so that it obviously looks good when it's set to spline because it has a slow move. But when I'm cutting this in After Effects, I don't want those slow moves because it kind of kills the vibe, makes it feel like it's very staged. Because in a realistic film set, you would, start moving or record, start moving, and then cut later, and you would cut off those ends of your slow start. So I don't want to waste those frame renderings. All right, so that's pretty cool. I'm probably going to do maybe a little bit more of a look up, possibly. So I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to go to the coordinates and maybe rotate like that just a little bit. I'm just rolling that with my mouse button. All right, so set my keyframe on that. Go back and play. Thank you for getting me into After Effects, Cinema 4D. You're welcome. Learning Blender because I'm a noob, but you generally say why you use Cinema 4D instead of Blender. I use Cinema 4D mainly because that's just what I started on. I used to work at a church, and they bought the program, and it was sort of the industry standard, and I knew if I was going to be getting into this full time, then I want to stick with the industry standard. But Blender can do a ton from what I know. I've never used it, but for being free, you can make some pretty incredible stuff. So, go for it. All right. So that's looking cool. It's got like a nice, there's a dolly track there, and the camera's sort of looking up, and I'm hoping that glare will sort of move a little bit. So that should be pretty cool. All right, so let's also change the focus there. I think I want to start my focus on the little corner of the desk here. So I'm going to click on my focus distance, click this little eyedropper tool, click the corner of this desk, and I'm going to set a keyframe by this little diamond. And then I'm going to push forward. And so somewhere about here, I want it to rack focus to probably the lamp. So I want to stay on that focus there, set a keyframe again. So that whole time here it's focused on the corner of the desk. And then from here to here, I want to change to, let's go to this corner. Okay. So let's take a look at that, what it looks like in the preview window. All right, so that's looking pretty cool. So we have our focus set there, and it looks nice and crisp. And then as I push forward, it should still be there in focus. And then right here's where it switches and changes. Now the lamp should be in focus, and this is out of focus. Yeah, that looks good. Cool. I have my book down here, which is getting intersected by some layers. So I'm going to move that over. I'm assuming architects look at books for reference and things, so something like that. Got to be real careful. It's like just barely off the table, so you don't want to. There we go. That looks a little bit better right there. I'm probably going to move this ruler into place a little bit so we can have a pop of color in here. Rotate that some. There we go. All right, that feels pretty good. So that'll be the opening shot right there. I dig it. All right. I can turn that off. I can save that. What I typically do is I make various project files for each scene. A lot of people will use the camera stage to change cameras in between, but I feel like it sort of limits me a little bit. I like to have some handles on each side. So I'm just going to go to my render settings. Everything's set here in Redshift. We're going to shoot for 4K, 72 pixels per inch. Frame rate, we're going to go for 24. We're going to go from 0 frames to 6 seconds, or 0 seconds to 6 seconds. And our save will be Cinema 4D renders. And I'm going to make a new folder called animation. Yeah, everything's a cloud service, monthly payment. Yeah, Cinema 4D did just go to their max on one sort of thing, but yeah, I agree. It's sort of just the life we live now that everything is a subscription, which is kind of a bummer, especially when you like buy a Redshift license and it doesn't really matter anymore. Sorry, let me set this. So we'll call it scene 1, and I'm going to render. Computer is taking its sweet time. There we go, and we'll call this blueprint scene 1. And a lot of times, actually, in this folder, I'll do a take 1. So this is my first shot at it, which I may want to come back and change some things. And we'll hit save. And I'm also going to do a multipass. So I'm going to do everything besides the HDR as I have a multipass on it, so that I can cut out the background later on. I think I'll render as a JPEG multipass, but I need to go to Redshift. Actually, I need to go to table and make sure everything is in this. This is kind of like my group. So this should contain every single thing except for the HDR. So I'm going to right click on that, go to add a little tag to it, Redshift object tag, and I'm going to do an object ID of 1. And then what you do is you go to Redshift AOV Manager, have to add a puzzle mat, and we change our mode to object ID and make all this 1. And so what it'll do, it'll render out everything on the table as a white layer, and then everything else will be black. I think there's a way to, you can go into the dome light and change, to turn off your, maybe turn on a back plate or something. But when I turn this on, I lose all this flare and things, I think. I don't have it on, but I think everything disappears, all these little flares and stuff. So I want to keep this, I think. I want to have the option to take it away, but overall I like the look, and I think I want to keep it. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm going to save that as a JPEG as well, because it's just a black and white image. So we'll do all in there, and I'm just going to call this MP for multipass. This will save out as an image sequence. JPEG, all good to go. A lot of people do EXRs. I don't really do them that often. I should, but I don't. Global illumination is all on. All this is set, and I think we're good. So I'm just going to save that. And what I'll do is I'll throw this to my render, add to render queue. It's probably going to say there's a bunch of errors because there's maybe some missing textures and stuff, but it looks fine to me. All right. Yeah, it's just a few missing files that I don't think I actually need, so I can ignore that error. So that's set to go, and I can render that whenever and stop it and start it as I need to. All right. So first scene's done. Moving on to the next scene. Why such a small DPI with animation? Since it's like super fast, 72 is sort of the standard, I think, for that. If I were to do, I would do a high one if I was going to be making some sort of print material. But with video, I think 72 is sort of the standard on on that. So, duplicate these live. It's very interesting to see the flow project. Yeah, I think it'll be live. It'll be a final video on YouTube once it's done. All right, let's move on. So what I'm gonna do is just save that, and I'm gonna save it. Do a save as, and save this as scene number 2. All right, so scene 1's done. Scene 2 is saved. And so what I did before is I made a, let's see, let me find it, sort of a storyboard based on the script that the church is looking for. I took that storyboard, broke it up into scenes with some music, and so this is sort of the script and storyboard. So this helps me know. I don't know if you can hear that. I hope you can. Let's see. There we go. This helps me know how long my scenes need to be. So this first little scene just says, opening scenes. So really, those scenes are really only 3 seconds, but I have 6 seconds on there, just for safety. So I want quick cuts right there in that opening shot. So that's my first move. Cut to something different, which is what we're about to do. And then we'll get into the text right there. So I really probably should tighten that movement up a little bit. I think I'm going to do that. I thought it was a little bit longer. If you're just tuning in, I'm just working on Cinema 4D for the day. Nothing super fancy, nothing super interesting really. Sort of slow, but thought it might be kind of cool to see the process. All right, so back to scene 1, and I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my camera settings. All of my keyframes should be down here. So I'm going to move that to like 4 seconds. So somewhere around in here. Yeah, that should be good. That should be plenty. And we're going to change our render settings to 0 to 4. Oops. So that should save me some time on the rendering. All right. Cool. So we'll save that. And I need to actually add that back to the render queue. So I'm going to go to render queue. Let me delete this one and add to render queue. All right. Beautiful. Moving on. Let's go back to scene number 2. So this is our first scene. So now our next one will probably be maybe something a little closer up. I'm thinking maybe something like really, what would you call it? I guess you call it like linear maybe. I'm thinking maybe like moving across the table, kind of like that. Got some pencils in here, which I need to work on texture-wise. Let me pull in, I had a blueprint over here, so I'm going to pull that in. Table. Was it this one? Let's see. Yep, there it is right there. So I'm going to move this into the scene. I think what I might do is, because I like that it has some stuff on it, some like writing and stuff. Let's see. Maybe if I do like this. Let's put this book maybe up here a little bit. Okay. So now we can sort of see what this is going to look like. I'm going to go to my camera here and just delete all of these keyframes because now I'm in a whole new scene and I don't need those anymore. Delete track. Same thing with the focus distance. Delete track. Okay. So let's hit our interview and see what we're looking at. It's definitely going to be out of focus. But that's cool. I like the way that looks. Oh. Let's see, hang hang on. Oops, I enabled this backplate. I don't think I want to do that for this one. Darn it. This was scene number 1. I turned that backplate on, which would make it all black, and I definitely don't want that. So, render queue. We'll get it right. Oh, nope, scene number 1. Save scene number 1. Add render queue. So now it should be good. Okay, back to scene number 2. Why JPEG sequence versus an MP4 render? The big reason is because once you start an MP4, render, if something happens, if you lose power or your computer crashes, then everything that you rendered before that is now gone. So if you do an image sequence, I can stop it at frame number 105 and then pick it up. Or if my computer crashes at 105, I can pick it up at 106 or somewhere around there and render out the final. So that way I don't lose any of the work that I've already done. And then you drop that into After Effects and it reads it just like an audio file or a video file. So yeah, that's the big reason is if you lose power. And with the render queue, I can easily stop and start it. If I render it to like their picture viewer where it needs to go from start to finish, then it's not as easy to restart it. So that's sort of why. Okay. Okay. But a lot of people do EXRs, which I was talking about, where it sort of puts all of the JPEG sequence and the different passes, like the multi-pass and depth and all that stuff inside of all inside of one file. Then you break it up in After Effects. I think that's probably the smart way to do it, but I have an old habit of doing it this way. All right, so this is our next little scene. I don't like what's going on here. I had a floor layer, which was sort of a cement floor, which I would assume would be an architectural office, maybe. It's a little bland looking, but I don't know. What I might do is actually put a stool down there so that it gets some more depth so you can sort of see how far the stool is. But I kind of like this vibe. One thing I'm going to need to do is remove it's got New York City on here. Let me pull this camera into focus so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, so I love the look of all this stuff. Problem is, that's not really going to make any sense to the final video. So that's being applied by a texture. I'm thinking I can just slide all of this out of the shot. Let's see. Let's play with it and see. This guy here. So this is my paper roll, and this is the little texture tag applied to it. So let's see if I can move it. I can offset. There we go. All right. I'll buy that. An architect is probably losing it, but that's fine. So I'll just pretend. So I'm going to move this one too. So I'm offsetting the V, which is sort of your vertical mapping or whatever. All right, it's got a texture applied on that side, which I don't think would be the case. I think I can change that, but part of me I don't really care. I'm fine with it. I think it looks fine. Okay, that looks pretty good. What I could do also, so this doesn't look like a complete copy, so I may try to shift the X as well. So let's see if I can get maybe a different part of that. So maybe this is my shot here. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Okay, so let's do the stool. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna use. Let me save this. Turn this off. A lot of times I'll go to places like TurboSquid or Sketchfab. There's a lot of good content out there already that you just don't really need to model them much anymore, because I'm not a modeler. I probably could learn at some point, but if it's not a super basic type shape, then it ain't gonna happen. So there's really just a lot of good resources out there for models already. I'm probably gonna use one from Quixel Megascans, but a lot of these are free and they look great and they totally work. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Yep. So this is just a great little site that kind of shows you some stools. Oh, this is kind of a cool one too. It's got like a metal stool. Might do that. That's kind of cool too. Yeah, so nice. And they're all like free downloads. So this one's good too. Man. Choices. Let's go with, let's do this meta one. I think I like the meta one. Just gonna add some nice reflections in there. So this is it's a cool little site. It kind of shows you what everything looks like. A rough idea of it. So I can go here, download 3D model. So thank you, Alexandra Orleans. Solid model. And I'm gonna download the OBJ. And Grayscale Gorilla, I love their packs and stuff. They have some really nice materials and things, just, already pre-made for you and ready to go. So let's go drag this into my assets. Let's see, some 4D models. And I'm gonna pop this bad boy in here. And we'll unzip that to stool. Okay, here's my stool. And the source will probably be, and I need to unzip this one. All right, here we go. Got my stool, and I can close this down for now. Drag this over here. It's going to open a new window, which is fine. Let's see if I can apply. So I'm just going to turn this one off. I just need one. So if I click my little material here, I think it shows that. Oh boy, what did I do? I don't have a new one. Yeah, so this is the material for that because it kind of highlighted it. You know what? I think I'm just going to apply my own to it. Unfortunately, this is all one piece, so I'm going to have to divvy up the various pieces of this model. So to do that, I'm just going to pull this out of this little null. Don't need that. And we'll delete this material. So yeah, in order to do that, I need to go to the polygon selection mode here. I know there's a lot of shortcuts for selecting these things, but I always forget them. UL maybe? No, I don't know. I can't remember. If I was a model, I'd probably have them memorized, but I'm just gonna select them and see. Oh, yep. Oh, there it goes. Well, that was convenient. I guess I have like a loop selection tools on, which is nice. Oh man, this is a tight little squeeze here. I just don't know if I'm gonna select all of those. That's gonna take me all day. Aw, there we go. Maybe it's like UR to do like a ring or something. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I'm just gonna move around. We'll try to make this quick. It's gonna bite me later to not do those little pieces, but I'll fix it later. All right, so that's our cushion. So with that selected, I can drag material onto it, or I can do create. No, I do select. Where's the button? This is new to me. R25 is a bit new. Store selection, maybe? It usually was set selection, I thought, but let's see what happens. Yeah, there you go. So now if I click that, double click it, it shows me that selection. Okay. And so I think everything else is just metal. So what I can do is with that selection, I can do UI, and it selects everything but that. And now I can go to select, set store selection. Okay, sweet. All right. Now we can copy this. So I'm just going to rename this stool, and we can hit copy, and we're going to go back to our scene number 2, and we'll paste this in here. Now we got to find it. So I have my camera selected. I like this angle, so I'm just gonna hit a keyframe for that so it stays right there. Now I'm just sort of in my own viewer. I gotta find my stool, which is like really itty bitty, I think. Let me see. Yeah, a little bitty stool. So I just hit T on the keyboard, scale it up. Slide this over, slide it down. Just need to make it sort of proportionate to the table and floor right there. It's probably about right. Let's go down a little bit more. Okay, slide that over. Somewhere around there is going to be what I want. All right. So now let's texturize the stool. Somewhere right there. All right, let's turn on our IPR window. Let that figure it out there. So there you have just that sort of your clay textured. That's what it gives you whenever, so what it gives you whenever you're don't have any materials supplied to it. So we want that kind of grungy metal. So I'm going to go to my Grayscale Gorilla Plus library. Again, can't recommend it enough. Go to textures. No, materials. So for the seat, it's going to be some sort of plasticky vibe. So they have an everyday materials thing here, and we'll go to plastics maybe. And they typically have some that are already sort of grunged up, but if not, we'll add some grunge to it. We'll flip through some of these before I make my final decision. Those are going to be too wacky. Metal, neon, paper, tech products. Probably not tech products. Fabrics. It's almost like a faux leather. Guess I might could just search leather. Yeah, like it's red leather here. That's kind of cool. So let's go with that. Yeah, let's try that. So I need to go to my stool and double click on my seat, and now I can drag this to there and let go, and it should apply it right there. There we go. So let's maybe zoom in on that a little bit. It's not my favorite. It doesn't feel quite right. Well, as it, it's not bad, but I think that other one was kind of that old type of stool has. It's more of a smooth type leather, so I'm gonna do like a aged plastic, maybe. Let's try this, and I can just click and drag it and drop it on top of this one, and it'll replace it. Yeah, Grayscale Gorilla, Jason, is they got it going on, man. They've been really up in their game with their new like Plus library stuff. It's a good 3D resource. So this is feeling good. I probably don't really need to add any like scratches or anything to it because it's sort of going to be out of focus. But for the sake of the tutorial, we'll mess around with that maybe. So yeah, you can see that little part of the texture that I did not fit, but I don't think it's going to be seen. But what I can do is add some imperfections to this. So what I would do, double click here. This shows me my material editor, which is a little bit scary at first, but I'm getting used to it. So if I wanted to add some scratches to this, I need to drag in a texture and then kind of plug in all these little pieces. So what you have is you have your main texture of the plastic, and then you have a roughness, which is creating the sort of the inconsistencies and the reflection. Yeah, it just makes it look really, really lifelike. And then your normal texture is creating this like bumpy vibe to it. So again, they have a lot of cool textures, so some imperfections. So there'd probably be some like scratches on this. So let's just try maybe something like scratch number 42. So I'm just click and drag and drop it in here. So bear with me as I try to remember how to do this. I could screw it up, but we'll try it. I think I need to plug it into a color layer. I could get this wrong, but yeah, nodes scare me as well for sure. As the more I like pull apart these pre-made ones, the more I learn how to use them. So I think a color layer is what I want. No, maybe it's Material Blender. Ugh, I don't know. It's one of the two. We'll play with both of them. So let's try this. So I'm going to plug my diffuse into the out, and then the base into here. That should go back to the red. Nope, it did not. Okay. Okay. What did I do wrong? This will be where my amateur expertise comes out. So let's just undo that. Let's just back all the way up before I screw anything up. I feel like it's Material Blender, but I could be wrong. So there's the red. Why did I lose it? I don't feel like I should have. Right there. Maybe it needs to be okay, color layer number 1. So now I'm going to drag my scratches. I'm going to add a ramp. I kind of think of it as like levels in Photoshop. It's just a gradient node, I guess. So I'm going to plug this into input and then plug this into layer number 2 color. And then if I click on color layer, I need to enable layer number 2, which is right here. And now we got some scratches on there, but I need to change my blending mode to add. Let's try add. It doesn't look, I don't really think I want them white scratches. I probably want them more of like a dark color. So what I would do is I'm going to add a texture. All right, so we'll put this down here and we'll call this is going to be just like a basic color. So let's see. If I do Shift Command C, it will show me exactly what this texture is doing. I think you have to set that up like a custom thing, but someone changed my color to like maybe like a, probably would be red. I don't think I did that right. No. General color multiplier. Let's try that. Oh, okay. Probably maybe not texture. Maybe just like a color. Can I do that? Okay. Maybe not. We'll get there. Actually, you know what? It doesn't really. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to put this into layer 2 mask. And so let's see. Layer 2. normal. I feel like I should be seeing something. What am I doing wrong here? Layer 1 mask? No. Oh, wait. Oh. I want this to be the mask. Let's try this again. Drag texture in here. Put this as layer 2 color. I don't want to see anything. Does this need to be on add? Nope. I feel like I should be seeing something. Let's just go back here. All right, I broke it. What did I do? What did I break? Well, when all else fails, start from scratch. Yeah, so this is where it's going to get boring because I'm trying to remember how to do this. Plug it into, I feel like it should be base color, but it worked when I did this. Oop. Out goes to diffuse color. Material RD red plastic age is not valid. Oh, I don't have it plugged in over here like an idiot. Gracious me. Okay, let's try this again. Layer 2 mask. Enable layer 2. There we go. Okay, so layer number 2 is set to black, which is right there, but I'm gonna do like a deeper red, I think. This is not even gonna show up in the final, so why I'm even wasting my time on it, but it'll be all right. So I can go to my ramp. So if I do Shift Command C, now I can see what my scratches are gonna look like. So I'm gonna adjust these a little bit. I think I can scale this some. Okay, I need to go the other way. 2 and 2. So it should give me a lot of scratches. Let's try that. And I can go to the ramp, and if I create more like white in there and plug this back in, Shift Command C, then I'm getting all kinds of stuff going on. And, you know, realistically, I would go in there and I would also make these scratches like part of the bump and all that stuff to make it look more realistic. But since this is just sort of a small background piece, I do feel like it should be more, maybe this base color should be like a red. No? It feels very, very black. It seems like it should be more. If I go green, does that do something? Yeah, okay. So that color's working. So I just need to go. Oh. More lighter, something like that. Okay. That's taking way too long. You get the idea. And we're gonna back out of that. So now if I go back to my camera, oh no, I need to apply the metal texture to it. So let's zoom out to check out our, also save the project so I don't lose it. All right. So let's add material to this. So I'm going to go to grayscale plus library materials. They have a lot of good metal options in here. This aluminum corroded is probably what I want, but there's so many great options. Iron oily comp. Let's go with that. Let's do this one. So I'm just going to click and drag and drop it on my model. And hopefully it applies nice and well. There we go. Boom. Easy. Okay. I probably could drop it in. It's got a little bit of, it's sort of low poly, so it's got some of these hard edges on it, which you can see a little bit there. It probably won't be seen in the final, but for kicks, I'm going to drop it into a subdivision surface to smooth that out. I can probably bump this down to 1. And now you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but these edges got nice and smooth compared to that. So you can see it looks all janky there. If I click that, then it smooths it out a little bit. I could go a little step farther, but since this is sort of a secondary piece, then it doesn't really matter. All right, so let's go back to our model, no, our camera. Boop. Okay. It sort of works, but it also sort of feels like, what is that big red dot? It kind of looks like one big button, which is a little discouraging because it took so long. But maybe if I can do maybe that, so you can see some of that in there. So I'll sort of offset it a little bit. So I'm gonna move this maybe like here. There we go. I buy that, right? Sort of looks like a stool. Oh boy. Oh no. I'm rotating this thing all over the place. Yeah, I can get behind that. I wonder if red is the best choice. I could also see going and make it some sort of different color. This is not doing anything right. Yeah. So if I was going to do that, I would probably add some sort of color correction. Let's try this. And I think if I plug this into here and this into here, then I should be able to change my hue of it and maybe desaturate it some. So do desaturate. Yeah, there we go. Maybe, I don't know, I'm tempted to do, yeah, something somewhere around there. I could even do like something crazy like blue. It's kind of cool. But I think red is your typical retro stool color. So I'll just desaturate it just a tad bit. Okay. That's feeling all right. I don't think my pencil is actually sitting inside the thing. So go back to my polygon selection or model selection thing. Uh-oh. I need the whole pencil to go. There we go. So let's go zoom into this bad boy here. I'm going to turn off my camera. What's kind of cool is I can turn my camera on and I can change this render view to always see the camera. And so now I can turn my camera off and I can move around the scene, but that camera is going to stay right there. So now I can come in here and update this pencil location to be right in somewhere in here. I do think part of this is missing. I recently got a new computer, and so this was from an old project, and so I had to change my hard drive name. So that little pencil, right, the little eraser should update. There we go. Let's do the same thing here. And apparently I gotta do it to all these. Come on. In your opinion, what's the difference between Redshift and Octane? I can't really answer that. I don't use Octane. I've never used it, so I don't really know what the difference would be. Different interface. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I just kind of sort of said any, mini, miny, mo, and picked Redshift. Redshift seemed to be sort of more popular, I guess, and I'm glad I did, because now Redshift and Cinema sort of all combined their licensing and stuff together. So I'm glad I did that. So it makes it just easier for me to keep up with. So now I'm missing one little. Where's my pencil? Other pencil here is. This pencil is missing a texture somewhere. This guy. Boop. Yeah, so the textures are just finding, they're using this path on my computer to find where those textures are. Now those pencils look like pencils and not little black voids. Okay, this one's used to be in there a little bit like that. I'm gonna put another one here. I probably need to go in and add some variation in these pencils, because they're not all going to be the exact same. But I think they would kind of stack like that, maybe rotate it a little bit. So probably would push this pencil out of the way a little bit. Let's zoom in and take a look. So if these were in here together, probably would be something like this. Something like that. For kicks, let's see what this looks like when I turn my camera on. Actually, oops, darn it. Let's zoom in here and just see what this is like. So what I love about 3D, you can just do all sorts of fun angles and stuff. It reminds me of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids for some reason. I get like a bug's eye view of what this looks like. I think my like depth of field is so low, so maybe I need to turn that off just to kind of get an idea. Let me bump this down to like 2 and 2. Turn that power down just a little bit. All right, kind of cool. Sort of a fun thing we have going on here. All right, get carried away. So we'll go back to my overhead view, change this back to, let's go 5 and 5. These are my bokeh sort of depth of field settings. You have COC radius, which is circle of confusion. I don't know why it's called that. And then sort of like the power, the intensity of it. But yeah, circle of confusion will kind of make more of a bokeh type shape. I need to change my depth. I'll go to the pencils there. So what I might want to do is, again, sort of a rack focus to the stool, or from the stool to the table. So maybe that stool needs to come out just a bit, but I'm thinking just a simple camera movement like that. Very lifelike. I do feel like I need to put some stuff on the floor. If this was a person working on a project, it would be like messy, So I may come back and put some rolls and things on the floor. And see how that goes, but for now that's working. All right, Well, I mean, sort of just kind of clicking, repeat on all of this. I'd start building the scenes out differently. Maybe I'll do another one when I get into the final. There's going to be a logo on the table. That logo sort of is going to animate over time, building different pieces. So maybe we'll hop in and we'll play around with that at a later date. But I'll probably just stop it right there. This is sort of just an inside look at what the process is for building these out. If you have any more questions, let me know. Feel free to add them in there. And thanks for tuning in. I hope it wasn't too boring, but I hope you learned something. So thanks a bunch, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.